Hello, folks. We're back and we're live once again. You are listening to Beyond Sight and Sound, metal detecting and treasure hunting radio for you, the always valued and appreciated listener. Tonight, special treats in store, announcements. Gonna be a busy evening, I do believe. Trying to check the chat real quick, see if we've got people dropping by. And it does look like, in fact, we do. I do see, let's see here. I do see Duke Dillon in the house. Beer Barrel, shout out to Mr. Chris Engel. Hopefully the other ones are following along shortly. We'll see what happens, and, oh yes, Bob D, Tar Heel Diggin', shout out to Matt from Tar Heel Diggin'. Cool Beans in the house. Super Drew, will not be in the chat tonight. He is, dealing with prior obligations. He's out for a very nice dinner, but I'm sure he'll catch the archive. And also, I guess now would be a very fine time to announce that tonight I am running Lone Wolf style. The Dirt Bandit is not along for this excursion of detecting candy. Just a quick update, he does hope to be here next week. Yesterday, his house was hit with an extremely severe storm. Fried his satellite, his receiver, his internet, the modem, 6 breakers out of the breaker box. He's very extremely frustrated that he cannot make it tonight. He was kind of looking forward to this, but, you know, we cannot control Mother Nature. It would be nice. I'm sure that many of us, as hunters, would love to be able to have that ability, but that's not the way it goes sometimes. So, you have that from time to time. It's unfortunate. We are keeping them in our thoughts, he and his family, and we hope that everything is rectified soon. He may try to call in tonight, but he's trying to keep the phone line open right now for the service providers to contact him to try to get him back on the grid. So, now that we've got that out of the way, I would like to say that for those of you who have seen the promo, because it did drop in a number of places this week, yes, that's right, I stayed awake today. No falling asleep in front of the computer for this guest. Not that last week's guest was anything to do with that. It had been a long night, a long morning, and I just fell asleep. That's the way it goes. But tonight, our guest tonight, this should be very good. You may know him from forums. You may know him from Facebook. You may know him from his YouTube videos, or you may have had the privilege to listen to him speak at Bone. Now, for those who don't know, Bone is Best of Northeast Hunt. He did a seminar there on permissions, and I actually caught a YouTube video of this seminar. And when I saw this video, I'm like, oh yeah, we have got to reach out to this gentleman and see if he's willing to come on to the show. This is some good information. We've covered it before, but it's good to touch on this topic from time to time because we do see new listeners from time to time, new people joining Facebook, new people coming into the hobby. So it's good to revisit this occasionally. And there were topics that he had wanted to touch on at the Bone seminar that time just didn't allow. So we're going to try to give him all the floor time that he may need tonight so that we can get the information out to the listeners. And hopefully everything goes well. chat's filling up, so let's get our guest in here. Our guest tonight is none other than Connecticut Todd, CT Todd, Todd Yerks. How's it going, Todd?
It's going good. Thank you. That's quite a run up there.
Well, I had a lot of information to work with. I mean, you've spent some time in the hobby, made some very nice finds along the way, and very knowledgeable, especially in terms of research and permissions.
I think the two go together, and where I live is the northwest corner of Connecticut. Right up in the corner of the three, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York, right up in that corner is where I live.
Well, so you're right up in a very good location.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of colonial history here. Good place to be from if you're going to go digging. But the way things work up in this neck of the woods is everything is owned. Even if there aren't no trespassing signs or anything else. Everything is assumed to be owned, and if you're on the property, you need to have the permission of the landowner to go there. So it really comes down to a permission game, and over the years, I've been detecting, this is my 18th year this year, it has been ask permission and, get out there and go. Do the research, find out where you want to be, and then find out if you can be there at all. And that has kind of fine-tuned my permission speech, you might say, or my little rant that I give a landowner at the door when I go knocking on their door. And I guess I've become pretty good at it. My hunt partner calls me the landowner whisperer.
That's a very good name.
Yeah, he thinks it's pretty funny. I had always done a lot of research myself. I had not been on forums or joined clubs. I was kind of a lone hunter for probably the first 10 years, I'd say, of my detecting. And I finally did become involved with some forums initially, and then internet meaning Facebook and so forth afterwards. But for the first 10, I would say, to be fair, I was on my own, and I went about finding places to go, and then securing the permission and getting out there and trial and error and learning how to find the great finds. I would be glad to. I kind of made some notes here of what gets you to a specific door and things that may help people get places to detect. Mm-hmm. Some notes about me are that I've been a Mind Lab guy from the start.
Oh, everybody knows I'm big on Mind Lab myself. They make some good machines.
Yes, they do. I started with a Mind Lab Sovereign. That was my first machine. And then I made my way all the way through all the Explorers, E-Track, and currently own a CTX and an XP Deus. Those are my two machines. The XP Deus is the first thing I've ever swung that wasn't a Mind Lab. But I would not part with my CTX. So,
well, I can't blame you there. I certainly enjoy mine as well.
As I said, have been detecting about 18 years, and almost all of it in Connecticut and New York, back and forth. I live right on the border in that northwest corner, so I go detecting in either state, back and forth. But I live in Connecticut, and hence the name Connecticut Todd. So,
right. Why don't we go ahead and start then with explaining, maybe telling the story of how you got into the hobby, and the story you related of your first hunt, your first dig And that kind of segues well into the whole getting permissions.
It does. It does a little. It's a little crazy how it happened, but 18 years ago, 17 years ago, my wife had our first child, our only child, and that was in December. And come springtime, I've kind of been mumbling about maybe wanting to try metal detecting. And Father's Day was coming, and I was really hot on it right about then. And I went down to the local metal detector shop, which turns out, I didn't know anything then, but I mean, it's actually owned by an industry great, really, Gary Storm from Detector Pro.
Oh, yeah, I love those Detector Pro headphones.
Sure, and it was his own metal detector shop underneath where he made all the Grey Ghost headphones and all that stuff. He had his own retail shop for selling metal detectors and accessories. So I had been over to his shop and had been eyeing a MindLab Sovereign and yakking about it with my wife. And so I make up my mind on, I think it was like a Friday or a Saturday, that's it. I'm going to go buy it. I'm gonna get that MindLab Sovereign. This is what I'm going to do. So I go over to Gary Storm's shop. And, you know, he's there, and I said, I look around the room, you know, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to buy that MindLab Sovereign. So I get up there, and I point to that machine up on the wall, and I said, Gary, that's what I want. I want that MindLab Sovereign right there, and let me have a pair of those Grey Ghost headphones. And Gary's standing behind the counter, and he starts shaking his head, and he says, I can't sell it to you. I said, what?
Going, wait a minute, why not? You're in business for this.
I said, no, I'm not kidding. I said, you know, I've got cash right here. I want that MindLab Sovereign and the other. And Gary says, I can't sell it to you. And I can't tell you why not. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, just trust me. He says, it's all going to work out.
Yeah, so, I mean, how are you supposed to take that? This guy's in business to sell stuff.
Yeah, so I was getting a little suspicious at that point, you know, but Gary didn't want to blow it, and Gary was good. He did not tell me that. So Father's Day Sunday comes along, and sure enough, the wife had already been there literally just hours before I showed up there, and she had bought me a MindLab Sovereign and a pair of Grey Ghost headphones to go with it.
Wow.
So,
what a great gift.
Yeah, that's a great Father's Day gift, one you never forget. And so first thing comes to mind for me is, well, okay, where am I going to go with this thing? So I thought of a client. I run a electronics business, and I thought of a client who had an old house, and they liked me. I knew them. And I said, you know, that's got to be a good place to go. That's an old house. That's got to be good.
Right, well, and this was, what was a mid-1700s house?
1730 manor house. Yep.
Oh, even earlier.
Yep, it was early. And so I go up and rap on their door on Father's Day on Sunday. And I said, hi. And they're like, oh, hi, Todd. Is there a problem with our... No. I said, I got a new hobby. I probably wasn't anywhere near as slick as asking permission as it just comes out of me now. But they said, oh, sure, go on out there, do whatever you want, Todd, no problem. So I did. I went out in that lawn, and I turned that machine on. And the first target I dug was a 1774 2 real. Which is, you know, if you're gonna dig a 2 real right out of the box, you are hooked for good.
Well, yeah, I mean, way to start the hobby with a bang.
You're all done. So I'm wandering around. I got this 2 real in my hand, and I'd never even seen it. I didn't know what it was, but I could read 1774 on it, and I said, you know, this thing's pretty good. This has got to be good.
Wow, this is cool.
So 20 minutes go by, and I don't believe I found anything else. 20 minutes goes by, and I can't take it anymore. I got to go home. I live like 10 minutes from this house. So I get in the truck, I drive home, I show it to my wife. We stand there looking at it at the kitchen counter, and my wife says, yeah, I think we're rich. It's a true story. It's a true story.
That's a great story.
You find out they're worth about $22.95 because they made millions of them. But, you know, it's a great way to start the hobby. Let's put it that way. But the reason really, other than being a funny story, to talk about that story is the first thing I want to talk about permission.
Right.
Is networking. Okay? Now, everybody's heard this term networking, and you understand what the jokes about it are, I'll have my people call your people, and
right.
we'll get together, and all the things like this. But networking. Now, when we talk about going to ask permission at a person's house, there are what I would call dead cold knocks on a door. There are knocks on a friend's door. There are knocks on a referral's door. But the referral and the friend are much easier to ask permission from than the absolute cold knock, which I do a lot of cold knock too, and we'll talk about that.
Right.
But an important part of this for somebody who's been afraid possibly to make that next step and knock on a door and get permission in that yard, or it doesn't have to be the yard. Maybe you're asking permission in his field next door or whatever. But asking the permission can come in different levels of difficulty, and I want to talk for a couple of minutes about how to make it easier for you to get to that door, to get to that first door where you're going to ask permission.
Right. How do we get there? And then once we do, what do we do then? Everybody listening here is involved in this great hobby and has a passion for history and a passion for metal detecting and truly enjoys it. And, you just never know what you're going to find. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that your friends, that your family, that your coworkers, that they all know that, hey, Todd loves to metal detect. Okay? They need to, this group of people that now maybe there's only 10 people who would care to know what your hobby is, okay? That's 10, okay? But that's 10.
That group of 10 needs to know that this is your passion and that you're a good guy and that you really enjoy this and that you are thankful when you find things and you'll tell them about it and they like to hear about what you find. This is what I'm saying, that those 10 people, they all know at least 10 more, okay? And this is huge. So when they bump into at their job or wherever it is they're going, when they bump into that new person that they didn't know or they do know, and that person has an old house or owns a field or something like this, it should be in your network, in your group of friends, to say or to at least mention, hey, I've got a friend that loves houses like yours and old places and loves history and so forth like this. And
absolutely. Let them know that you're out there.
Make sure and keep telling your friend, oh, I found this great coin. It's interesting to them.
Yeah, show them the finds.
And what you're doing is you're making your people, your network, work for you. Now, when your friend calls you, your friend Bob calls you up and says, hey, I met this guy, he's got an old house, and he said he wouldn't care if you came and detected. Going to knock on that friend of Bob's house, and you are the referred person to get to that door, think of how much easier that permission is for you to get. Just to get your feet wet, asking permission, where the guy already knows you're coming. The lady of the house already knows you're coming, and they've already said yes. Okay? That's the kind of permission that is like a friend's house you're knocking on. That's so much easier than an absolute cold knock. Okay? That's the type of play. I would much prefer that any day because it's easier. Okay? I have nothing against the cold knock either, and we'll go through how to do that. But this referral is key for permissions. Okay? And how you treat that landowner that you just met, and you gave him an Indian head penny that you found in the yard, or you gave him a door knocker or something that came off the house, and he tells his friends, because that guy that just was referred to you and now thinks you're a great guy, you were there, you didn't make a mess, you didn't ruin his lawn, you gave him some cool things out of his own lawn that he didn't know were there and never would have known. He's going to tell 3 people when he goes out to dinner, yeah, we had this guy over, and he was great. He looked all over our lawn, and he gave us a couple of old pennies and some things that he found in the lawn, and no, he didn't make a mess. That guy now is working for you. He's part of your network, okay? And it's key. It's very, very big for you getting more places to go. Why do we want to hunt in yards? Okay, just down by me, obviously there's farm fields and so forth, but there's a lot of yards, okay? We want to hunt in those old house yards because that's where the activity was. And if you're going to dig somebody's yard, you really are going to have to do permission and get good at it because, hunting in a field or hunting in the woods is one thing, but going and knocking on the door and digging the front yard where the lawn is manicured is a whole nother thing. And
that's right. And let's face it, private property is kind of the last frontier in a sense for us. There's a lot of nice finds to be made on private lawns.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I walked across that first yard the day I started and dug a 2 real. Okay? I hunt about 50% yards and about 50% would be split between fields and cellar holes now. In the spring, before the crops, I do a lot of field hunting. During the heat part of the summer, I'm more into cellar holes and yards. And then in the fall, again, I pretty much am out of the yards. And I'm back in the fields and the woods again, detecting in those places. So just, going back to this, you want to, first off, if we're going to make a checklist here for how to get permission and how to work on this and to think about it, the first thing we want to do is make sure that all of our friends and family know that we are always looking for a place to go. And that we love to metal detect, and we will share, and just get those people working for you. Okay, that's number one.
That's now, right, because they'll do more than what a lot of people realize.
Absolutely. Next up is, before we're going to go talk about knocking on the door and stuff, the next item up is, let's get ourselves a business card. In today's world, this is an extremely simple thing to do online. Get yourself a business card. It's got your name and your address on it. Now when you meet this landowner at the door and you hand him a card, which I do every single time, now you're not just somebody. Your name and address are on the card. Your phone number's there if there's a problem. The guy's got something in his hand. He's reading it while you're talking to him. You're not just some guy driving by now. You're somebody here. You're right on the card. Okay?
Right, and you automatically have that more professional appearance.
Absolutely. The card is key. And the card, I usually will give them, the first time I meet them, they get, I'll hand them a card. After I come back and I've given them, I've hunted the yard or I've hunted the fields or whatever, I go back, I give them 2 or 3 cards. Those are the cards that are going to make their way into their friends' hands. Okay?
Right.
Again, with the offer of, hey, did you lose a ring? Did you lose this or that? I could come look for it. Again, you are the guy that's helping them out. You're the nice guy that gave them some things out of their yard, but they will forget your name. They will forget your phone number without the card.
But they've got that card.
If you were to go on to, and I have an example of my card, the one I hand to people. It's on my website. Anybody who's been to my site has probably seen it, but my site is cttodd.com. And under permission tab, all the way down the bottom, there's a picture of the card that I hand out, as well as the spiel that I will give the landowner as we're talking about, permission for his property and so forth.
Right.
But so a couple things that we've got going here is we've got our friends and family working for us, and we've got our cards made. Okay, you can get online. You can get a lifetime supply for $25.95 delivered to your house. Okay, you're done one time, one little bit of effort, and they're in your hands for the rest of your detecting career. Okay, so we got those two things going for us.
And if you're handy with software and a printer, you can even do them yourself.
You absolutely. That's all you need, though. But you're giving that person something that says this isn't, some guy who's looking to rob me or something. Here's all his information's right here.
Right. It's a tangible piece that they're going, oh, well, how can this guy be shady? He's carrying a business card. I've got his information right here if something goes wrong.
Yep. That's exactly right. So we got those two things. The next thing, before we get to this door knock that we're going to talk about, is I don't knock, and guys have different opinions on this, and that's fine, but I don't knock the day I'm going to hunt. I feel that it's a little pushy to be standing there and you're digging clothes. That's just my personal opinion on it. Guys, you can do what you want, but
right. Dress nice, dress presentable.
I do not show up in digging clothes. I do show up if at the moment I'm shaving and not doing a beard or something. I show up clean, knock on the door with a smile on your face and a card in your hand. Sometimes I carry some buttons with me, something like that, colonial buttons, something that they can be looking at while you're telling them about what you'd like to do on a search on their property. So we've got those things going for us. Okay, we're getting set now, and it's we've one way or another we've come up with this house that we want to hunt at. Okay, so let's talk about the permission part of this. Okay, now before you walked up to that door and you knocked on that door, could you hunt there? No. Okay? If you bang on that door and that guy comes to the door and says, "Get out of here," or "No," or whatever he says, and it's a negative, you get a no, what have you lost? You've lost. You thank them. That's what I do. When I get a no, I just say, "Okay, thank you very much. Sorry to bother you." And I turn around and I go down.
Still give them a smile. Wish them a good day.
Still give them a smile. Hey, it's their lawn. Okay? You're asking something from them. It's no reason to be upset. For all you know, they buried their dog in the front yard and they don't want anybody out there. It's nothing personal. But you've lost nothing but a little bit of your time. Okay? So try to look at it that way. That nothing ventured, nothing gained. Before you asked at that door, could you hunt there? No. Now that he said no, can you hunt there? No. What have you lost? Just a little time. That's all.
On to the next one. Or maybe you strike up a conversation with him, and he says, "Well, hey, I don't want you in my yard necessarily, but Joe down the road, he's got a pretty old house too. Maybe you might want to check there." So now you've developed a lead.
Have absolutely had that work. Have given the person the card, had the no, said thank you, have a great day, sorry to bother you, turned around and walked down the sidewalk and been stopped by the person that said, "You know what? Go ahead. You've been so nice about it. Go ahead."
That's what I was just going to say. Sometimes you strike up a conversation with them and they say, "You know what? Yeah, knock yourself out. Just don't tear the yard up.
Okay. All right. Now, Josh, I'm going to knock on the door here a minute, and you say whatever you want, but I'm going to go down my normal spiel. Again, everything I'm saying here is on my website. It's under the permission tab. My whole spiel is right there, and I mean it's verbatim. It's exactly what I say. Okay?
Right.
So I'm going to start right off. I'm not in my digging clothes. I've got a card in my hand. I've got a little package of Colonial buttons that I usually carry with me. And I'm walking up to your door, and I've put a smile on my face, and I'm going to knock.
Hello?
Hi. I'm not selling anything.
How's it going?
It's going good. I'm not selling anything. I usually say that right off the bat. It breaks the ice. They're used to the holy rollers banging on the door.
Yeah, because when people come up to the door, you automatically wonder.
So the first thing I always say is, hi, I'm not selling anything.
Okay.
And it helps break the ice. My name is Todd. I have a hobby that involves old homes and places like yours. I look for old buttons and relics with a metal detector like I'm sure you've seen people at the beach do. I do the same thing, but I just do it on dry land. Okay. Notice at this point that I said old buttons and relics. I didn't talk about coins. I didn't talk about treasure or anything like this. I just, it's my opinion that it makes more questions initially. We may talk about it after, but
didn't refer to it as treasure hunting. It's metal detecting.
Just metal detecting, looking for relics and old buttons and so forth like this. Okay, so then I'll say, if you give me permission, I'd like to do a search of your property. If I do get a signal, what I do is I open a small hole like the size of a golf hole with my trowel, and the dirt and so forth all goes onto a towel, and I retrieve the target, and then I put all the dirt back in the hole, and the grass goes right back on top. It usually does not even kill the grass, and it leaves no mess whatsoever. I use a towel so there's not dirt all over the place, and that's how it works. Now, usually at this point, they'll say, well, geez, you know, how much digging, how deep do you go?
Yeah, how big a hole are we talking? Because I've seen those shows where the guys are carrying, like, backhoes.
Right, okay. Well, what I tell them is, you know, on a how these metal detectors work today and so forth is, if every condition was right, if there was the right amount of moisture in the ground, and there were no special problems with interference or anything, this unit could usually goes about 8 to 10 inches at the most. Okay, and being a detectorist and you guys listening and so forth, realistically, most of the targets we find are 6 inches and under. At least in my experience, they are. Right. I don't want to dig dimes at 10 inches. I'd rather dig them all day long at 4 inches. That sounds better to me. But
less work.
Less work. I went to England last year. I dug the firing cap. What do you call it? The cap out of a shotgun shell. The blasting cap out of the center. I dug one of those with the HP XP Deus at over 10 inches, just one of those little tiny buggers. And I told somebody about it, and he goes, yeah, did you want to dig one of those that deep? I said, no, I didn't want to dig that deep, and I never want to dig one that deep ever again either. But, well, let me get back to this here. The next thing, usually they'll give me a yes or a no at that point. And depending on how the conversation is going, I may say a few more things, like sometimes I find things that are specific to the home, and I'd be glad to give them to you. And then a lot of times they'll say, well, what if you find a pot of gold in the backyard?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. My
what if you
grandparents lived here. What if you find a jar of coins?
Yep. Well, I'll say, well, I'll tell you, if I really find some treasure, I'll split it with you. And they usually laugh, and it's not really a stumbling block. It hasn't been a problem. If the answer is yes from the homeowner, then I'll say, well, thank you very much. When I come to detect, where would you like me to park my truck? And are there times that you wouldn't want me to come by to detect? Now,
would you like me to call first?
All of those things. This is just this is their property, and this is respect for the landowner that you've just gotten permission from.
Right. Respect
and let them dictate when you can come and go. And great. Just be happy you have the permission. That's pretty much the end of it. I mean, there is the point where if you're going to hunt with a partner, a lot of the things that I'm saying along as we get to this point in the conversation where they say yes or no, I would have been saying we instead of I, and so forth. And they may ask,
right. I was going to say at some point you would probably let them know I also have a friend that does this. Would it be okay for them to come along too?
Yes. But what I usually say to make it so it doesn't scare them that there's another guy coming, and again, this second person now is a person who they don't know and have not met, is what I will say is my friend Gary and I, when we detect, we always come together, and Gary will never come here when I'm not here, and this type of thing, so that it's not introducing, well, there's going to be 8 guys showing up with shovels in my yard. So that's how I go about that part of it for the second person. And some permissions, are just not going to work for a second person.
Right. Some people just don't want other people on their property.
No, they don't. And again, their property and their choices. But, they... if you think you're just barely getting the permission, it might not be a good time to ask to bring along a buddy.
Right. Maybe hunt it yourself once. Let them see how you are, and then approach them with it.
Exactly. This conversation that I've kind of laid out for you here again is on my site. You can go down through it just to get it in your head if you want to go knock on a door. But that's the exact conversation I use, and I get mostly yeses. You'd be amazed at the houses I'll walk up to and knock on the door. Northwest Connecticut is not the local trailer park. We're talking big houses, mansions, things like this, and it phases me not. I will walk right up and knock on the door, and I find most people, once they get over that you're not trying to sell them something, that you're a reasonable person, they're usually pretty nice, and I mostly get yeses. I really do. I would say most of the no's come from people who are afraid you're going to mess up the lawn. That would be my guess.
About their property.
Right.
Which
So
understandably so. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. So what I would say to the new permission seeker, the person who'd like to ask permission for the first time and has had a hard time of it, is, get out of your car, put a smile on your face, and try it. The first time you do it's going to be the toughest. And remember, what do you have to lose?
Right, it does get easier, and you will have those no's.
You will have no's, but you know what? There's another house down the road. Get your cards made. Give the people something. Get your group of friends and family working for you, because remember, when your friend or your coworker or somebody gets you that phone number for Mr. Jones's house, the old farmhouse down the end, then you're saying hello to Mr. Jones as a friend of his. And that's a lot easier than the cold knock. And getting that group of people working together for you is going to make a big difference for you. And remember, if you want to get out there and you want to find old coins and relics and whatever it might be, you want to be where people were. You want to be where the activity was. That's the key. That's why cellar holes are good. That's why
research is key.
That's why when I look at a farm field and, if there wasn't a house we think that was out there that's not there any longer or whatever, when I get to a farm field, what do I look for? I look for where are the gates, because that's where the guy got off the horse. That's where the guy got off the tractor. That's where the activity was. I look for the gates from one field to another field. I look for the spot in that field where if I was working this field today, where would I want to sit down and have my lunch? Those are the places that you want to be. And if you need permission to get there, you're going to have to get over this bit of not being able to knock on the door and try it. I just ask you guys to try it. And if you're going to hunt the local park or something like that, and everybody else has hunted there, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what I'm saying is that there could be 50 guys that have hunted that park in front of you. When you want to find that new piece of virgin ground, great cellar hole that nobody's ever been to, or that yard that nobody's ever detected, those places are literally loaded with finds. It gets tough down at the local park. You got to contend. Right. You got to contend with bottle caps and other detectors and all of those things. And I want that spot that's never been detected. Now everybody will tell you, it's never hunted out. It's never hunted out. I would rather bop into that new permission and find the 2 real than hunt for a month and a half and not find one.
Right. So you're kind of going that rather than never hunted out, you would rather have never hunted.
Yeah, absolutely. All day long. All day long. About 4 weeks ago, I took 3 friends. This is what you get for taking friends with you. I got permission for these great fields. Hadn't been detected. Took 3 friends with me. I took my hunt partner, Gary, who's GK Man on all the forums. He's my hunt partner. He's a great guy. Heavy Metal Nut, Dave Wise.
Oh, Dave Wise.
Yep. And Filtzy, Todd Hiltz.
Right.
Took the 3 of those to this new field I got. We all bop out of the car, and the end of the story is that all 3 of them found 2 coppers for today.
Nice.
Yeah, and I got nothing. That's what you get for taking friends with you. That's what you get. And you know what? They did not offer to give me one of those coppers. Not one of them. Nothing. Not a renewable resource. I brought these.
Going, hey, thanks, Todd.
Yeah. Well, they said that, but they, not metal detecting finds are not a renewable resource. So when
it comes to the old stuff,
when you take 3 guys and they all find coppers, those 6 coppers are gone. I'm never going to find those. But right. It was fun anyway. But I'm just saying that these permissions, that was virgin ground. We walked in there, and in 2 hours we dug 6 coppers. We dug shoe buckles that day. We did it, and this is just a farm field, but it did require permission to get in there, and that's what you want to be chasing, guys. Get out there and ask. If you want to, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but if you want to detect and find 1962 nickels, that's great. No problem. I like
to each their own.
I like to coin shoot down at the local ball field, 1962 nickels. If you want to find 1860s shield nickels, then you want to do research and find out where the first exhibition baseball game was in your town.
Right. We've got a caller.
All right.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Josh. This is Brandon. How are you?
How's it going?
Good. Connecticut Todd, this is Brandon Stewart. How are you, buddy?
All right, how you doing?
Good. I had the pleasure of meeting you at Bone this year, thank God, finally.
You have the by far the nicest looking Massachusetts copper I've ever seen dug.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That's kind of what I was calling about. That was my first non-clad found coin with my Ace 250. After you talking about your first Riel with your first detector.
Yep.
My question to you, sir, is what's the best thing you've ever found in New Hampshire? Because I know you've done some detecting in New Hampshire.
I've actually done quite a bit of detecting in New Hampshire because of belonging to New Hampshire Bob's Forum up that way first, and then, or actually second, that forum was second, and Streeter's Forum prior to that. So I had attended a number of group hunts up that way, and I would have to say the best find from up there would be a cartwheel 2 pence, 1797 2 pence. It's the only cartwheel I have, and I found that on one of those group hunts up there.
Unbelievable. What a find.
That's a coin that'll set you back in your seat. I mean, it comes out of the ground and it's like as big as your palm. And you can't miss it. It's got a big border around it. It's the kind of coin that as soon as you see it, you know what you have, you know. But I've always been a button and relic guy, really. Again, nothing against digging coins and so forth like that, but I like the old military buttons, the colonials, just the plain old flat buttons. I get a kick out of them. I've dug dozens and dozens of large cents in a year, and most of them are coming up as plain old crusties. You know, they're fun to dig, but
right.
There's the detail is gone, and it's great to look down the hole and see a green disc down there, but to dig an old button that has some detail on it, which a lot of times they do, and stuff, I much prefer that. Brandon? What's your oldest coin at this point? Is it that copper still, or did you beat it?
No, my first year at Bone, last year's, not this past year, but the year before, I dug a 1759 1 Riel when they did the Best of the Northeast up at the Dublin Christian Academy.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, so far so good. I dug a couple this past year, which was kind of nice. I dug one at Bone this year. I think I showed you that at the dinner. The 1775 half Riel.
Yeah.
What's your oldest coin?
I have to qualify that because I went to England last year. So my oldest U.S. find is a 1695 or 96, I can't tell, British silver 1 shilling.
Wow.
I dug that I dug that on a live dig. It's actually on my YouTube channel. And I dug it and didn't know what it was. I knew it was good, but it was getting dark and I didn't have my glasses, and come up, it's about the size of a quarter, silver piece. But my oldest U.S. find is a British silver shilling, 1695.
Well, here's a follow-up for you, Todd. Then you just mentioned that you like digging buttons and relics. What's your best relic you've ever dug, or your oldest button you've ever dug?
I mean, some of my flat buttons are going to be my oldest. My old flat colonial buttons are going to be one of those. I'm sure is going to be the oldest stuff, early 1700s. I would imagine, but no way to date them. Made by blacksmiths and so forth.
Correct.
I've got a lot of shoe buckles. Early shoe buckles. One of my favorite. I have a child's shoe buckle, very tiny, complete. Everything moves on it still. Is one of my favorites. A lot of sleigh bell, early Crotal bells. my favorite coin of all time is the first coin I ever dug. It has always been my favorite. It's under the finds tab on my page. It's the first coin you come to. I dug that coin 18 years ago. It has always been my favorite. I have a lot of coppers. Gary, my hunt partner, and I, if we go 2 hunts and we haven't dug large cents, we start checking coil connections. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, we dig a lot of coppers. It's where we live. I mean, if you look to us for seeded dimes and so forth to dig, we hardly ever dig them. We dig more reals than we dig seeded. It's all about where you are,
and that would be a nice problem to have.
That is a nice problem. I know, and we are spoiled in the Northeast. We're lucky. The Dirt Fishing America guys came all the way out and stayed with us and hunted just because of that. I mean, because where they are in Utah, the history wasn't there at the time. They have found a few large cents, but when you really want to dig, colonial U.S., it's the East Coast. It's
got to be Northeast Coast even too. But Todd, what is your favorite military button that you've ever found? I've seen a few of them that you've posted. I'm just curious, what's the favorite one you've ever found?
That's easy. That's would be my British officer's ball button. It's a Rev War button found on Long Island. It's a ball button with 3 cannons on it and a crown, and it's gold leaf. In the picture, my picture on a lot of forums is me holding one little item between my fingers, and everybody always says, can't even see what's in your fingers. That's actually the ball button. The sad part of it is that I dug that button and immediately threw it in the junk pouch, junk side of my pouch, and hunted all day long because I thought it was shiny. It was shining gold so bad that I thought, this is just junk jewelry. And I didn't even look at it. It had mud on it and stuff, and I just threw it right in the junk drawer. And end of the day came, and the guys all standing around said, "What'd you find? What'd you find?" I said, a couple little buttons, couple of this, that. I didn't really find much. And I said, "Yeah, I did find that one thing." So I dug around down in the bottom of the garbage pouch with the Budweiser cans and everything else in there, and I dragged out that button, and guy doused it with some water. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God. And,
I can't believe I did that.
Yes. And it's a true story, though. And you could see the cannons and the crown, and it started shining. And then I promptly won Find of the Day, and they gave me a Mind Lab backpack and a bunch of stuff. It came right out of the junk pouch.
That's great. I just want to call in and Todd to give you props. I'm so excited that you were on here tonight. I recommended you to Josh a while back, saying that this is one guy you got to have on your show. You're a stand-up guy. You're what everything about metal detecting represents.
I really appreciate that, Brandon. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, buddy. And Josh, great show, great guest, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Well, thank you.
Which, for the listeners, there has been I noticed in the chat, there has been a little bit of an echo that has developed. I've been trying to kind of narrow that out. Not sure what's going on with that. It could be storms. We've had an ungodly amount of rainfall in Ohio. So, we'll try to hang in there with it regardless. And I'm sure that's just a minor inconvenience for the listeners. I'm sure we can get through it all right. I know we had talked before we had went live, Todd, that you had some notes that, reflecting back on your years in the hobby, were some points that you felt helped to make you a better hunter, or maybe a more successful hunter for yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you like to share any of those?
Sure. The first thing that helps my hunting in general and the finds that I've made over the years is location. I mean, I completely get this, okay? And like I just said about the Dirt Fishing America guys coming out, they realize that. If you want to find old stuff in the U.S., you do it on the Northeast, up in the Northeast. And that's where I live. I'm right in the middle of it. Don't get me wrong when I say, we find large scents all the time and so forth. We do. But that's because they're here, okay? It's got nothing to do with me being a better detectorist or something like that. And I don't say it to be a wiseacre.
Right. Those finds are more plentiful.
That's right.
In your areas because they were occupied earlier. I mean,
right.
You want to find the old stuff, and you got to go to where people were. You're
That's
not
right.
going to find them at your local park that was built in the 70s.
Exactly, unless some of the dirt they brought in had it in it. I mean, I had a friend had some dirt delivered in Vermont, and there was a Real in the dirt that got delivered.
Right.
It's all about where you are. So that being said, the advantage of being in the Northeast, okay, there are some things that I think really will help to make a detectorist successful. The first one is, and I see this happen over and over and over again, is guys will buy multiple metal detectors one after another and never really learn any of the machines that they've got in their hands. Right. That is a mistake. If you don't know what your machine sounds like when it's just barely hitting a silver quarter at 10 inches, then what are you doing out there? Okay? Everybody understands what the machine sounds like at 4 inches and 6 inches when it hits the silver quarter. The key to putting more finds in your pouch is that you know what your machine will do. Not only just that quarter I'm talking about, but you must learn your machine.
Not only do you understand what it's telling you, but you understand its capabilities.
You guys tell me all the time, well, I had a V3 and then I got a Sovereign or a E-Track and then I bought an XP Deus and then I bought... What it means is they never really learned any one of those machines.
I agree.
I'm not trying to make somebody upset here, but I know guys out there right now, today, hunting with their original machines, their original Explorer that they bought, their original Sovereign, their whatever it is, the White's machine, XLT that those guys,
they will smoke people.
They will smoke you with your brand new machine. And the reason is exactly what I was just saying. They know that machine inside and out. And that's all the difference there is. They know what that machine will do under all conditions because they've stuck with it and they've learned it. And the guys that continually buy machines, great for sales, great for the used market for the guys who want to pick up a used machine, are never learning one machine, and it's always that this machine looks deeper and this machine is better and so forth. Now,
right, the next best thing, the grass is always greener on the other side.
I have moved, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, I've had 5 mine labs, but my mine labs are spaced over time and only purchased, and I'm an electronics guy, I'm in the business of electronics, were only spaced when I thought that there was a reasonable advancement in the technology in the machine. That's why I would move. Okay, I would move from my original Explorers up to an E-Track, which was more stable, better machine, no doubt, over a standard Explorer. I don't believe any deeper. I don't believe a CTX is any deeper than an E-Track. But I made the move to the CTX eventually because of a number of features on the CTX that were an advancement over the E-Track. I still miss being able to tell when I had a silver quarter underneath my coil with an E-Track, which with a CTX, basically you can't tell, you just know it's a 12 something, and I hope it's a silver quarter.
Right, that is one thing I missed about going to the CTX, is it lost that signature Minelab silver tone.
Yeah, we had, you had the overhanging, on your early Explorers, you had that overhanging blue symbol up in the top right, and you said, well, that's a silver dime, or at least you knew. But I still thought there were enough advancements to make the move to the CTX over to E-Track, and those are the reasons that I've moved forward. Okay, so I covered that one, and I don't want to beat it to death, but honestly, guys, almost every single one of these machines out there, from the middle of the road machines up to the upper machines, they're all looking about the same depth in the ground. That's just the way it is. And anybody that tells you any different is just trying to sell you a machine.
They're all finding metal.
They're all good machines. You need to stick with one. Read the book, watch the videos, use the machine, and learn it inside and out. That will be the key to your success, not the new machine because it's got a bigger screen and it's going to do this or that. If it gets some advancement, then sure, make the difference, but not until you've really learned the machine you have. The day I got my, actually 2 days after I got my first Sovereign, I met with Gary Storm. I asked him for a couple how-tos on the machine because it had been a Sunday and he was closed. He reached over and he took the discrimination knob, bottom left, on the Sovereign and turned it down to 0. And he said, leave it there, you don't need any. And I have hunted that way my entire life. I hunt a wide open screen on the E-Track, on the Explorers before it, on the CTX. I hunt a wide open screen. I listen to everything. Now that may drive a lot of people crazy, but if I'm not hunting along a cellar hole or in a field and hearing the grind of iron, boom, 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 I'm not happy.
Right, I'm thinking my headphones just gave out.
Iron is signs of life and activity, and that's key. You want to be where the people were 150, 200 years ago.
A lot of people don't like it, but in reality, to sum it up in a nutshell, iron is your friend.
Iron is your friend. Iron tells you somebody was there before you. It's absolute key. Okay, so I'll get off the machine part. The next is research. Okay, everybody tells you should have research, but I'm going to say this to the guys that are out there, and I understand you got the internet, and you can look up old town maps and so forth like that. Nothing beats a map in your hand. They are obtainable for under $20 mailed to you, but why wouldn't you have the 1850 map of your county with all the houses on it and all the little markings that they used to do? Why don't you have that?
Absolutely. To know where you're going, you need to know
get
where
an area to get it in your hand. You want to buy the map of the county where you spend most of your time. Go find it online, spend the $20, get the map in your hand, mark it up yourself, get a highlighter pen, do whatever it is you're going to do, but get that map. It makes a huge difference. You drive around and look at that map, it makes all the difference in the world.
It makes a world of difference.
Okay, research. I used to think I was good at research, okay, and I am pretty good at research. My hunt partner is really good at research. GK Man. He's on a lot of the forums and so forth like that. Great guy to hunt with. I hooked up with him about 2 years ago. I think this is our 3rd season. He will find things that I didn't even think to look for. And then he tells me who owns it. And then I go, as he puts it, and whisper in the people's ear. And
the landowner whisperer.
That's what he called the landowner whisperer. And we ended up, true story, quick story. Last year, I had a new client I had never met before, and they had a couple farm fields down in front of their house. I said, Gary, I gave him the address. I said, Gary, tell me about this. Anything here? Gets right back to me with a text, says, Todd, 2 houses in that field. I said, no, there aren't. He said, they were.
And he's going, there was.
I said, okay. I got us permission. That particular hunt, it was, we filmed it a little bit, and we ended up in Western and Eastern magazine on that particular hunt. We
Very
had an
nice
article in there. In 2 hours, the first night there after work, I dug 9 large scents, and Gary dug 7 or 8 in 2 hours.
Wow.
Just absolutely hammered it. It was all virgin stuff, and it's all about research. Again, you can hunt at the local park in it, and I absolutely mean it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, if that's what you want to find. Okay? But if you want to find the old stuff, you need to do the research. And the easier you make it on yourself to do the research by having the old map and looking at things online, there's a lot of things online, then the easier it will be for you to find places where you should be swinging your detector. Okay?
Absolutely.
And the last thing is, you really can't find it sitting on your couch.
No. You've got to get out there and dig.
You have to get out there and dig. The last thing I'll say, and I know we have to wrap up here. I do, at least. I'm sorry. But the last thing I'll say is I have a comment about Facebook and forums in general. And I like them. I'm on them on a regular basis. But what I will say is this. I feel that when you get home at night and you go on Facebook and you're a member of this treasure group or that one or so forth, or you go on the forum and you hit the tab for treasures found or something like this, especially for new hunters who don't really completely get the deal. I feel that these sites, it's like crack. It's right there at your fingertips. And you look at what all these people have found, and you think, what am I doing wrong? How come I didn't find this stuff? And what I think people really have to pay attention to is that these things, when you see these things, this is thousands of hunters out there who have now posted a picture. Okay, and tonight there's 8 guys who found great things, and you touch like underneath it, or you make a comment, or whatever it is. But it should not affect how you feel about getting out there and hunting and having a good time, metal detecting in this great hobby that we all enjoy. If you belong to a group like I joined the Digging in England thing, okay, on Facebook.
Right.
It makes me sick every night. I mean, these guys are finding fantastic things every day. But what I'm just trying to say is that, because you didn't dig 3 large cents in a real tonight, or a gold ring at the beach, or whatever it is, it doesn't mean anything other than that person was in the right place and made it happen that day. Don't get discouraged. You got to get out there and dig. Do your research so that when you're home at night, you can't detect tonight, right? You worked until dark or whatever it is, but you got a couple hours to sit in your chair or whatever. That's when you should be doing your research.
Right. Hit those maps.
Hit those maps. Now, that's part of your detecting, so that when you do have some time, Saturday or Sunday or whenever it is, when you go out there, you're making the best of the time you have available to get out there and detect. And that's what's going to make you a more successful detectorist, is the research put together with knowing your machine inside and out, and then finally getting out there and really digging. Get out there and dig, guys. And if you're going to run your machine with all sorts of discrimination because you don't want to hear the little beeps and it drives you crazy, I'll tell you, every single bit of discrimination is costing you targets, because
you're losing more finds, you're losing more depth.
That's exactly what's going on. And you know what? Those first 8, every last one of them was can slaw. You were right. They were can slaw. Damn it. And I didn't want to dig that. But the 9th one was a class ring, and you left it there because you were aggravated.
Exactly.
So you gotta discrimination at places like cellar holes or farm fields. I see no place for it whatsoever. If it rings in a positive tone, you have to dig it. You don't know what is there. When you're in somebody's front lawn, or when you're in a public park, which is not your grass in either case, that's the place for discrimination and some discretion about what you will dig and what you won't dig.
Right.
Okay? Because if you make 60 holes across the front of that guy's yard because you're a maniac, you are not coming back to that house. And you're not going to get any...
And you may not come back to any of the neighbors either.
Right. You're not getting any referrals. You're not getting anything from that guy.
Because that works two ways. You can make the people work for you, and they can hurt you, too, if you're not doing things right.
It's a two-way street. So have a little discretion. Use your head. Learn your machine so that you know which targets are worth digging in that guy's yard. Okay?
Right.
Sometimes a year, sometime during the year, are not the times to dig in that yard, whether the guy gave you permission to do it or not. Like the middle of a dry spell, when you will leave, and I don't care how you dig these holes, you do a horseshoe and you leave a hinge or anything, you will leave 25 brown circles in the middle of this guy's yard, and he is not going to be happy.
He's not going to be happy.
And this may make some people upset also, but I will say it. You don't belong in the public park during that time either. Now that's, that grass is there for everyone, and you should not be the one down there at the park ruining it for everyone.
Right, because our actions do affect more than just us.
Our actions affect all of us.
That's right.
You need to fill your holes. You need to dig with a towel when you're on lawns. When you're on a lawn or in a park, put the dirt on a towel. It makes the hole that much better. It's a simple process, and it's actually easier for you if you just throw the dirt. You just hold the towel up, and the dirt slides off right back in the hole. You don't even got to mess with it.
That's right.
And these things affect all of us.
Yes, they do.
Anyway, that's the whole soapbox. But I hope it helps. I really do. I love this hobby. I've been involved in this hobby for a long time. I've been rewarded by it. I've found a lot of great stuff. I have some really good friends that I enjoy hunting with, and I just hope you guys all get out there and hunt and find great stuff and post it so that I'm ticked off when I have to look at it on Facebook or wherever it is when I get home and I couldn't go tonight, but you guys found great stuff. I am going to push the like button, but I will curse at you a slight bit, but you won't be able to hear it. And that's about all I got, Josh.
Okay.
You got some.
Would you like to let everyone know where to find you?
Sure. I'm on Facebook. I'm Todd, Connecticut Todd Yerks. I used Connecticut Todd as my middle name, and they haven't thrown me off of there yet for that. I guess they've been chasing some people for it.
Oh, yeah, they got me.
My website, which has a lot of my finds on it, not all of them, but a lot of them, is cttodd, Todd, at .com. cttodd.com, and the permission tab is there, and I also have a cleaning section tab there, which has a guest spot by Don in South Jersey there, talking about how he uses peroxide to clean coins. And Dave Wise is actually going to write something. He just sent me a note the other day that he would on his cleaning methods, and I'll post that also under cleaning of finds.
Which Dave is listening, by the way. I did see him in the chat. Yes.
Yeah, he's all over the web. You can't get away from him.
No.
You can't do it.
There.
You can't do it. He'll find you.
That's right.
He'll find you. But a great guy to hunt with, and a good friend through detecting. That's about it. Those are the places. There's some old YouTube videos I have out there. Most of them are live dig stuff, and some forum hunts, and that's under
CT Todd 1.
1. Yeah, they made me put a 1 behind that for some reason, but that's on YouTube, and that's about it. If you want to, guys want to, I'm all over, I'm on Fine Mall, I'm on New Hampshire Bob's, I'm on Streeters Forum, Northeast, American Forum with Dan. Where else? A lot of places. You can PM me. If you guys got questions, I'm glad to answer them. But make your cards, learn your machines, get a map for your county, and be successful. And
do your networking, do your research.
And networking is key. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I know that you are pressed for time, and you do have to get on out of here. Yep. I certainly appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us tonight, Todd.
Well, thanks, Josh. I liked doing it. It was fun.
Yes, it was. And from what I have seen in the chat, everybody enjoyed it very much. It was very well received.
Oh, good. Good. I hope it helps them.
A number of comments, and I do believe it will.
Yeah.
So for everyone else, if you enjoyed the show, by all means, please like, rate the channel, click the pink hands, yada, yada, yada. Drop onto Todd's site, check it out. He's got some very, very nice pictures of finds, I must add.
Friend me on Facebook. I'll then we can chat.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Well, you have a good night, sir, and it looks like I've got another caller that I'm going to deal with, and then I may roll out of here myself.
Okay. Do you want, in case they're asking a question, do you want me to wait a second if it's a question?
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead, caller. 419 area code.
I just wanted to tell Todd that I appreciate him being on your show tonight. He's a wealth of information, and I wouldn't mind having him come back with you sometime if you're both open to that.
Sure.
And I wanted to tell you, Josh, happy birthday.
I knew I wasn't going to get away from that.
I didn't know that.
Well, it's actually tomorrow.
Oh, all right.
But somebody let the news out in the chat, I see. I don't know who did, but people were picking up on it, so thank you for the kind comments out there, listeners. It is appreciated, and also big shout out to Mr. Howard Hewitt. He sent me a very nice message this evening. Won't go into any details, but it was very thoughtful of him. I appreciated it.
He's a good man.
Yes, he is. And he was also a great guest on the show. But for everyone else, if you enjoyed the show, by all means, please like, rate the channel. Oh, and one other thing. The wild card contest, a winner was selected this evening before we went live. I posted a video clip of the random draw on there. Everyone may want to take a moment and congratulate Swansea Searcher. I will have to get in contact with him, or if he's still listening, he can give me a call after I go off air. I will leave the lines open for a little bit if people just want to call in with questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations for other guests. Other than that, next week, it's very possible we could have a show on cleaning finds with electrolysis, the right ways and the wrong ways.
All right. Thank you very much.
For everyone else, thank you, Todd. Thanks to the listeners for dropping in, interacting in the chat. We got to roll, though, folks, so we're going to get on out of here, and we'll see everyone next week.